Hi, welcome to Math Movies with Ms. Feuer-Beck and Ms. Veluti. Today we will be working on multiplying and dividing whole numbers and decimals using the powers of 10 in exponential form. Here's an example of exponential notation. We would pronounce this number 10 to the second power, or sometimes we would also say 10 squared. I'm going to point out to you two different parts of this number. The 10 is what we call the base. And the 2 up here is the exponent. So when we're referring to exponential notation, what we're talking about is we're going to take this number, which is the base number, and we're going to multiply it as many times as the exponent tells us to. So in this case, we're going to start with the number 10. We're going to multiply the number 10 by itself the total of 2 times for the exponent. So here I have 10 times 10 referring to that 2. One group of 10 and 2 groups of 10. So the final answer for 10 times 10, of course, is 100. Please take note that this is very different from 10 times 2, which is 20. That is not what we're referring to when we talk about exponential notation. This 2 means that we are raising the base to the power of 2, meaning that we're multiplying the base as many times as the exponent. So here's a big chart of looking at the powers of 10 using exponents. So you can notice that there's a lot of patterns going on here, but what we can tell is that we have 10 to the first power, or one group of 10, which is 10. 10 to the second, or 10 squared, is the same thing as 10 times 10, or 100. 10 to the third power, or 10 cubed we sometimes call it, is 10 times 10 times 10, which brings us to 1,000. 10 to the fourth is 10,000, 10 to the fifth, 100,000. And we could keep going. But these are some examples. Now, I wanted to point out a couple of patterns that you may already be noticing. One is that every time we move up in this chart, we're multiplying by 10. And that's because we're also moving the decimal place to the right one place. So it's just something to keep in mind. You could also think about it in the reverse way. If we're going up the chart, we're actually dividing by 10 each and every time. The other thing to think about is that for the exponent, let's just take 10 to the fourth, for example. We're looking here at 4 zeros, and there's 4 zeros in the final answer as well. So those are just a couple of little pointers to keep in mind to help you on track when you're solving with exponents. So now let's practice doing some multiplication and division using the powers of 10 in exponential form. So let's say we start with this number, 1 56/100 times 10 squared, or 10 to the second. So remember, I know that this number is 10 times 10, or 100, all right? So I could also rewrite this as 100. And what I need to do is I need to multiply 1 56/100 times 100. Now I know from earlier work that if I move my decimal place to the right one time, that's multiplying by 10. And moving to the right another time is another group of 10, which is exactly what we need to multiply by 100. So my decimal point is going to end up here, and that makes my answer 156. If we look on the bottom, here we have 7 times 10 to the third. So 10 to the third is the same thing as 1,000. And 1,000 is the same thing as 3 groups of 10, 10 times 10 times 10. So I'm going to take my number 7, my decimal point is originally here to the right of the 7, and I'm going to move that to the right once for 10, to the right twice for another group of 10, and to the right a third time for a third group of 10, which brings my 7 to 7,000. I'm multiplying 7 times 1,000. So there's 7,000 for us. You can also divide using the powers of 10. So let's practice that. 10 to the third, as we've discussed, is 1,000, or 10 times 10 times 10. So I'm going to start with 4,000, and I know my decimal place is right here to the right of it. And this time, because I'm dividing, remember we're dividing here, I'm going to move my decimal point to the left for each of those tens. Every time I move the decimal point to the left, I'm dividing by one group of 10. So I need to do it 3 times for 1,000. And that makes my decimal point land right here between the 4 and the 0, bringing me to an answer of 4, or 4.0. 4,000 divided by 1,000 equals 4. Okay, let's take a look at the second problem on the page. 750 divided by 10 to the second. So once again, 10 to the second is the same thing as 100, otherwise known as 10 times 10. So what we're really saying is, what is 750 divided by 100? Well, let's take a look. We're going to take 750, notice where our decimal place is at the beginning, and again, we're going to move that decimal place to the left twice, one for each group of 10. 750 divided by 10 would be 75, and divided by 10 again brings my decimal point right here to a total of 7 5/10. So 750 divided by 100 is 7.5. So those are some sample problems to get you started about thinking of powers of 10 as exponents when you multiply and divide whole numbers and decimals. Don't be afraid of the exponents just because they look a little different than other powers of 10. The numbers work exactly in the same way. Good luck!